Hello again, everybody. Along with Joe Simpson, Skip Terry, welcoming you to another day of Atlanta Braves baseball as we finally get spring training over with and get ready for the home opener on Monday. The Boston Red Sox in town today on their way to Texas, where they'll open the season Monday in the American League. Boston, a team that's played poorly this spring, 42 errors in 28 games. They led the American League in errors last year, but they got an awful lot of power. Meanwhile, bad news for the Braves today, Joe.
Not totally unexpected either, Skip, and it has to do with Chipper Jones. He had a pregame workout today under the watchful eye of Dr. Marvin Roystert. Tested that right knee that he had surgery on last Monday to remove a bone chip, and it was determined that he would indeed go on the disabled list, retroactive to last week when he first suffered the injury. So he's going to miss the first few games of the season against the Giants, and then when the Cardinals come to town, he will miss the first game of that series. Will be available to the Braves next Saturday. So Mike Mordecai is going to get the call. He's going to be in there every day, basically, until Chipper's ready to go. The Braves don't consider it anything that's really going to slow him down, other than they just want to make sure that Chipper's okay when he's 100%.
Yeah, it's a long season, and you don't want to make it worse by rushing the situation. He'll come off Saturday if the doctors feel he's able to play. A couple left-handers working today. We'll be back with the starting lineups, and we'll tell you about them right after this.
Last game of spring training. Here's the starting lineup for Kevin Kennedy's Boston Red Sox today. Leading it off will be Dwayne Hosey in center field. Will Cordero, the former Expos, at second base, batting second. Last year's American League MVP Mo Vaughn is at first base. Jose Canseco bats cleanup in right field. Mike Stanley over from the Yankees will catch and bat fifth today. Mike Greenwell is in left field batting seventh. Tim Nehring will bat eighth and play third base, or batting seventh, excuse me. Esteban Beltray is at shortstop batting eighth, and Rafael Orianna, a young left-hander, is on the mound to bat ninth. For the Braves, defensively, today Jerome Walton gets some work out in left field. Marquise Grissom in center, David Justice in right. Mordecai, Blauser, Lemke, and McGriff from third to first. Javi Lopez behind the plate, and on the mound, Steve Avery. 7-13 last season. He'd like to forget about that. He's off to a good start this year because he's had a good spring. He's 2-0 on the spring, a 2.29 ERA, and he told me before the ball game he'd like to work 4 or 5 innings today, and he's very pleased with his control so far this spring.
And his first pitch to Hosey is a strike. Hosey played at Omaha most of last year, hit .295 with 12 homers. He drove in 50 runs. Then came up and hit even better for the Red Sox in 68 at-bats. He hit .338, and he's got a .321 spring going. These guys are going to score some runs again. Grissom on his horse, but he's got plenty of room. 1 out. And Will Cordero is the batter, the former Montreal Expo. They got him at second base today.
And that's where he's going to play. And apparently, according to first base coach Frank White, who knows a little bit about playing second base, won a bunch of gold gloves for the Kansas City Royals. Frank says he's making the transition to second base very smoothly. He's played very well over there.
He had some throwing problems at shortstop. Maybe the shorter throw will help him, and he's a fine player. He's always worn us out, I know that. That'll be easy. Justice pats the glove, and 2 are out. He almost dropped that there.
As you mentioned, they've got a lot of power in their lineup, Skip. They've hit more home runs than any of the teams that trained in Florida. They hit 38 this spring. Kevin Mitchell was added about the middle of spring training and will be the DH and bat in the middle of their lineup, but he is not with the club here. They left him back in Florida to get a few more at-bats before joining the team in Texas.
I don't know that he needs them. He had 2 home runs, drove in 5 runs yesterday as they beat Baltimore 9-8. Here's a pretty good ball player, folks. 0-1. Vaughn last year, 300 hitter, 39 homers, 126 runs driven in. He homered here last year in an exhibition game, as I recall. 0-2, foul tipped into the glove of Lopez. Mark Leiter against Greg Maddox as we started for real Monday. Downstairs, a ball and 2 strikes. Mike Stanton, the former Brave with the Red Sox now. He's had a great spring. 12 innings, has allowed no earned runs. The 1-2 pitch. Line, good job of hitting. Jerome Walton up with the ball, and Vaughn is at first with 2 out. And here's Jose Canseco.
Even with that kind of power and those kind of numbers, he's not afraid to take a left-handed pitcher the other way when he's behind in the count. Stayed with that pitch and hit it in the direction that it was pitched.
Canseco, because of injury, had only 396 at-bats last year. Still managed 24 homers and 81 RBIs. He's hitting .282 this spring with 4 homers. Hits that ball just fouled on the third base mound. We work with 3 umpires today. Paul Newart behind the plate, Scott Potter at first, Mark Barron third.
Why is that?
I don't know.
The season starts tomorrow in the American League, starts Monday in the National League. I'm surprised we don't have a full contingent.
You would have to direct that question to Ed Vargo, who's in charge of,
or commissioner.
It's not going to work, buddy. Oh. 0-1 the count.
Canseco put on quite a show in batting practice. Was peppering the club level with home run balls.
He didn't think much of that ball.
He hit a ball in left center field in the club level above the Eddie Matthews sign that commemorates Eddie Matthews' number being retired.
He about broke his seat right over the Diet Coke sign, too. He is strong. And he helps move on, too, hitting right behind him. Almost hit him 1 and 2.
One of the keys for this team, too, is health. They've got a lot of guys who have had a history of not being able to play a full schedule, and they are pleased to come out of spring training with everybody in top shape, including Roger Clemens.
Mike Stanley waits on deck. High fastball out of the zone. Canseco angry with himself. And Avery gets through the first in fine shape. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, 1 left, bottom of the first. No score.
No scores. We go to the bottom half of the first inning here in the last spring training game of 1996. Here's the Braves starting lineup. Grissom in center. Jeff Blauser bats second at shortstop. Then Justice, McGriff, and Lopez in the middle of the order. Jerome Walton getting the start in left field, bats sixth. Mark Lemke seventh. Mike Mordecai is going to get plenty of action here for about a week or so. He'll be at third base batting eighth, and Steve Avery will pitch and bat ninth. The Red Sox defensively, Greenwell, Posey, and Canseco in the outfield today. On the infield, Tim Nehring at third base. Esteban Beltray playing for John Valentin, who has a slightly pulled groin muscle. At second base, Will Cordero. Move on at first, and Mike Stanley behind the plate. On the mound, a left-hander, a young kid they're very high on in the Red Sox organization, Rafael Orianna, only 22 years old, 6'2", 160. He actually was optioned back to the minor leagues early in spring training, back on March 11th, and had appeared in actually one other spring training game, but it was a B game, so it wasn't official. So this is his first appearance for the big league club, and he's going to try to show Kevin Kennedy a thing or two, as well as the Braves.
He's a rangy left-hander, and he deals to Grissom, who pops it up. Tim Nehring is over there, so Stanley can't make the play. He banged into the railing just as he reached for the ball. Let's see if he's all right. He might have hurt his throwing hand there.
Well, he's had some leg problems, too. He's only played in 10 games this spring. He's hitting the ball very well, but the last thing he needed the last day of spring training was to re-injure himself.
He banged his crazy bone on that railing down there. The Red Sox got up very early this morning down in Florida and flew up here for this game, and they fly right out after the game, go to Texas. Off tomorrow and play Monday. In the 0-1. Lazy fly ball to right field, and Canseco is there and puts it away, 1 out.
That was a changeup from Oriano, and the scouting report is that is his best pitch. That was a good one.
Here's Jeff Blauser. Jeff's had a good spring, 295 after last year's nightmare. David Justice moves on deck. Pop. Not a first pitch swing in this game. Overcomes Vaughn. He makes the play. Nicely done. We're wearing these guys out, banging them off the railings around this ballpark. Feet on.
And Mike Stanley just goes from one rail to the next to get nailed. He got hurt on the left side, banging into the wall, and then Mo Vaughn, after he makes this catch, kind of slings his glove back and slaps Stanley. Watch this.
David Justice the batter. If I were Stanley, I'd say, pay my one way to Texas and leave now. David Justice the batter. David at 292 on the spring, just one homer. Historically, the Braves start slowly. Hopefully that will not be the case this year. Strike called 0-1. Orianna looks pretty good for a 22-year-old kid. Last year he pitched at Trenton, was 11-7 with a 3.09 earned run average. That's a ball, isn't it?
I have to check it.
On the corner, David didn't think too much of that.
Might be the Eastern League. It should be double A.
Would be double A, yeah. Well, Trenton is in the East.
Let's hope so.
The 0-2. Upstairs, a ball and 2 strikes. The red-hot Fred McGriff is next.
Unfortunately for the Red Sox, they haven't been getting much respect. Everybody's talking about Baltimore and New York and all the changes they made. These guys are the defending American League East champions.
Ground ball to second. Will Cordero sidearms it to first. And the youngster breezes through the first inning. No score after one. Back after this. We go to the second inning. A RoboCam shot of a somewhat foggy Atlanta downtown area. Mike Stanley leads things off, the former Yankee catcher. He hit 268 in New York last year with 18 homers, 83 RBIs, signed by the Red Sox as a free agent. Takes a strike on the outside corner, 0-1. A ball and a strike. Now, you've been over to the new stadium and toured it, haven't you?
Well, but it was last summer.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of changes since then. Talked to Wayne Long, director of marketing for the Braves, yesterday. He'd just been over there a day or so ago, and he was talking about how nice it looks.
You know what I think I'll do as you look at the new park? I don't think I'll go there till the first day we work. And just
go early. Take it all in then.
Yeah, and just see what my impressions are. Got to check the press lounge first, and then, of course, branch out into unimportant things like the field and the booth.
Figure out time and distance from there.
That's right. The 3-1 to Stanley heard it. Upstairs, Steve Slocum will change pace. So leadoff man is on for the Red Sox in the second. And Mike Greenwell, boy, he's had an awful spring. Last year, 297 hitter. 161 this spring with just 3 RBIs. He came very close to being a Brave about 6 years ago.
It's funny how they always mentioned his name in a lot of the deals they were trying to make. I'm not sure what they were looking for from the Braves, but I know that in Seattle, when he was rumored to be going there, it was for some pitching, and he's still a Red Sox.
He's out of Louisville, Kentucky, makes his home now in Cape Coral, Florida. Runner at first, nobody out. Stanley, a very conservative lead. Strike to Greenwell.
You've always heard that rule of thumb about left-handed hitters being good low ball hitters. This guy fits the bill. He's an outstanding low ball hitter and can golf the ball out of the ballpark with anybody.
Very intense guy, they tell me. Really a Kirk Gibson type.
Right.
And that's a compliment. For the first, Avery, one of the best in the league at that, but you know he does have difficulty holding because of his high leg kick. If they guess right, they can steal. If they guess wrong, he's got him. The 0-2. Got him. Fastball inside corner. Greenwell out on strike. Second strikeout for Avery. First out of the inning, and Tim Naring, the batter.
One of the things about Steve Avery, I think everybody realized he pitched well in the postseason, but he had 3 quality starts at the end of the regular season that led into the postseason. And those combined 5 starts, he was 3-0 with a 1.09 ERA. So at least it gave him something to build on for the winter, where he had overcome for him a horrible year, going 7-13 overall.
Tim Naring, a .307 hitter last year. He's out of Cincinnati. Had 10 homers, 57 RBI, and a good spring as well. The 1-0 pitch. Ball on the strike.
Left side of their diamond did a pretty good job in the power department. It's just odd that your shortstop is the guy providing most of it. Naring had the 10 homers, and Valentin had 27, drove in 102 runs. And that's why Cordero is playing second base.
Line caught. No chance of a double play. Ball was well hit, and that's all hitters want now. They don't really care if it goes for a hit or not. They just want to be on the ball. Here's Esteban Beltray, the shortstop, who played at Texas last year, hit .217.
He's a pretty good fielder. Will be a good backup player for Naring and also Valentin on the left side of the diamond. Fans of Georgia Tech may be interested in some information about Nomar Garcia-Parra, who this spring had an excellent spring with the bat. He's ticketed for Pawtucket to start the season in AAA. Garcia-Parra, of course, an All-American at Georgia Tech, but this spring he hit .393, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers. But the downside, he made 7 errors.
He's an outstanding defensive player in college. The 0-2 pitch. Knocked him off the plate. Reminds you sort of Chipper Jones' minor league career.
Yeah, and talking to some of the Red Sox people, they were saying that he's gotten stronger. You know, he's a wiry guy, but he's built himself up in his upper body, and he's swinging the bat well. They expect him to get to the friendly confines of Fenway Park real soon.
That's that. Beltray goes down swinging. A leadoff walk does no damage. Avery has struck out 3, and at the end of an inning and a half, we're scoreless. Score, we go to the bottom of the second. Don't forget, opening day, 1:10 game, 12:35 broadcast. Giants and Braves, they'll have the ring ceremony here, and we'll have it for you. Starting at 12:35, plus interviews with players, managers, all sorts of stuff.
We're going to have a special chat with Greg Maddox before first pitch.
And Bobby Cox, and I don't know who else, but a whole bunch of people. Tickets are still available for that game, by the way. But if you can't get to the ballpark, 12:35 right here on TBS. Mr. McGriff, the last 2 games, 3 for 5, 3 homers, 7 RBI. He wishes the season had started 3 days ago. Takes a strike at 0-1.
A lot of players, I think, would tell you that they think spring training is 10 days to 2 weeks too long. I think Fred would like to have applied his last 10 days' work to the regular season.
I think it probably is for hitters. I don't know about pitchers.
No. I think maybe a week too long. I don't think that it's 2 weeks too long by any means.
And then you see a guy like Mike Pilecki in 10 days may have made himself a ball club. And then you ask yourself, how important is it? I guess it depends on how you spend your winter. If you do a lot of throwing or a lot of hitting in the cage and work out, you're in shape. And you're not going to have the hamstring pulls or the tender arm or any of that stuff.
And these days, most of the guys take pretty good care of themselves in the winter.
Fly ball deep center. Jose going back. He looks up at the wall. It's gone. That's amazing. Is he hot?
Save some, Fred.
I'm sure that's what he's thinking as he circles the bases.
He is locked in right now. 4 for his last 6, 4 homers, 8 RBIs. That was a high pitch, looked like. Just above the belt. Jose ran out of room. He is some kind of hot.
Javi Lopez, the batter. We talked about this last night, but first the pitch outside. If Lopez just improves half as much this year as he did between 94 and 95, he'll be in the All-Star game without question.
Well, I thought last year part of his success came from being able to have a day off occasionally thanks to Charlie O'Brien, because 2 years ago, the second half, he got a little tired, I thought. And I think maybe just his physical maturity, too, will help him this year. He's so strong. Eddie Perez will get a start occasionally back there, but Javi's going to be the guy day in and day out.
Chop toward third to Naring. In, up, catcher running. Half step, 1 up. And success has not spoiled Javi Lopez at all. He's still just a nice young man. Jerome Walton last year batted 162 times at Cincinnati, hit .290 and had 8 home runs and 10 stolen bases. He will not embarrass you in that outfield if somebody's hurting or needs a day off.
Absolutely not. He'll steal a base for you if you need a pinch runner.
I was surprised that Luis Polonia got let go by Seattle. I thought he was going to be their leadoff man and starting outfield.
Surprised me, too. He must have had a bad spring.
1 ball, no strikes. One out, nobody on, but the Braves lead at 1-0. Another McGriff homer. 2-0. The youngster falls behind. Rafael Orianna deals. And the count goes to 3-0.
We were talking about this a little bit last night about a guy who can come in and play for you if somebody does get hurt or goes down. Sometimes those backup players, if you let them play too long, their weaknesses are greatly exposed. They can do a good job for you for 5 to 6 days, and then suddenly the pitching catches up to them. That's not the case with a guy like Jerome Walton. He can come in and pick right up where somebody left off.
And he's aboard. And Orianna issues his first walk. Second Atlanta base runner. Here's Mark Lemke.
Kevin Kennedy, fired at Texas, goes to Boston and wins the division championship.
It always cracks me up when managers get fired. Maybe just to take the heat off the next guy up, in line. They might look at me if I don't get rid of him.
Yeah.
Runner at first, 1 out. Walton can really run. Know nothing about Oriano's move. Lemke pops one into short right field. Out goes Cordero and makes the catch in foul territory. Nicely done. 2 down for Mike Mordecai, who homered here last night.
One of the nice things for Cordero there, though, is knowing that with Jose Canseco in right field, basically anything hit out there, he's going to have to catch. So no fear of any collision.
But if you're going to collide, that's not the guy you want to collide with what he's really put together. Mordecai hit .280, got some big hits for Atlanta last year in the playoffs and World Series as well. Just built himself a home in suburban Marietta, Georgia. where the Simpsons are. Not Bart and Homer, but Joe and Kathy. And Gabe and Meg. And a 750-pound dog. What kind of dog is that? Foul back now out of play.
He is a bull mastiff, or bull massive, as he's referred to around our house. Sleeps with Gabe. That's a good sight to see.
Joe's got one of those heavy-duty pooper scoopers. 1-1 the count.
Orianna throwing Morty a lot of off-speed pitches. Maybe he's heard the scouting report about the fastball hitting Mordecai, who launched one out of here last night.
I wonder if they even bother with scouting reports in games like this.
Probably not.
But they were scouting the Braves last September and vice versa. Red Sox lost in the first round of the playoffs to Cleveland. Cleveland was so dominating that you really forget that the Red Sox even got to the play.
That's right. That's why I was talking about the lack of respect this spring. They're the defending champions, and nobody's talking about them.
They don't have a nobody picture. By the way, I don't even know why we're playing the game. Sports Illustrated came out and said it would be Atlanta and Cleveland in the World Series, and Cleveland would win. So I guess we could just shut everything down.
Mail it in.
The 2-1. 3 balls and a strike.
Orianna trying real hard to hold Walton on at first base and using the slide step, and it's thrown his delivery off a little bit, and he's not able to get on top of his breaking ball. He's leaving his arm behind.
Steve Avery on deck. Runner going, hit and run, base hit, left center field. Walton easily advances to third. They're going to wave him. A relay comes to second. The throw is not in time. And on the play, Mordecai gets to second. Jimmy Williams rolled the dice, and it paid off.
Good test for Jerome Walton's injured hip muscle, too. Find out right away if he's ready for opening day, and I'd say the answer is yes. Hosey's throw came into second base, and that was the difference. Good slide. Good rotation by the umpiring crew, too. That's the first base umpire there making the call, and that's Scott Potter. Good rotated around. Good slide by Walton.
Good throw by Cordero. A lot of good plays on that ball. Here's Steve Avery. It's 2-0 Atlanta. It's a single in RBI, and Mordecai takes second on the throw to the plate. So you saw a runner score from first on a single there. Happens very seldom. Avery hit .208 last year with a couple of dingers. Cordero throws out the Atlanta pitcher, and the inning is over. But not before the Braves score 2 times. On 2 hits, they leave 1. And at the end of 2, you score. Braves 2, Red Sox zip.
Environmental camera we're trying today from the folks at Kodak will show you this on this swing of Fred McGriff. Watch how we talk about making contact out in front. Watch the point of contact here. Good extension by Fred. Head on the ball, nice hip turn, hitting against the firm front side, and another launch job. I don't know if I ever get tired of seeing that swing. Do you?
No, he's got a beauty. That camera will be nice.
That's a good look.
Rafael Orianna, the young pitcher, will hit. No changes for Atlanta. Orianna deals. Rather, Avery deals to Orianna. 0-1 the count. 2-0 Atlanta, our score. A ball and a strike.
Big thrill for this kid, don't you think?
Yeah.
Just prior to his start of 96, probably going to pitch at Pawtucket.
I think it's neat that they've brought him to a major league ballpark just to give him a sniff. It's obvious they are very high on him, or they wouldn't bother.
Trenton, by the way, for those of you that were with us earlier, is in the Eastern League.
Double-A. Off his foot. Still 1-2. Nobody on, nobody out. He was 11-7, Orianna was at Trenton last year. Just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Avery upset with himself. You don't want to go 3-2 to a pitcher.
Yeah, and he was saying before the ballgame he was proud of his control so far. The 1 walk today, only the 2nd one he's issued in spring training.
Yeah, and he finally just said the heck with it, threw a fastball down the middle, and he couldn't catch up with it. That's 4 strikeouts for Steve. Steve, an arbitration winner over the winter. We just hope that any hard feelings between the two sides will go away as the season progresses, because you want this guy around for a long time.
That's right. The residual effects of arbitration can sometimes be, even if you're the winner, can be harmful.
Posey flied to center his first time. High and away. 2-0 the count. That's a double to left. Runner at second, 1 out. Second hit of the day for the Red Sox.
That's what he gives them in their lineup. They're not a ball club that runs a lot, but he has some good speed. They can get him on base often enough for the power that will come up behind him and get on the board early in a lot of ball games.
Will Cordero, the batter. 2-0 Atlanta. Runner in scoring position. 1 out, top of the third. Don't forget that big luncheon on April the 4th, isn't it, Joe? The World Congress Center?
Thursday.
All the players will be there. Ted Turner is going to be the featured speaker. Pete's going to MC that event, I understand. If you'd like to be there, 404-614-1367, the number to call. 404-614-1367. Proceeds benefit the Braves Foundation. The 1-1 pitch. Hit pretty well, but fouled down the left side near the Red Sox bullpen. A ball and 2 strikes.
Like the Braves, the Red Sox have a pretty good collection of coaches on their staff to help some of these players. I was talking about Cordero making the move to second base and Frank White helping him. Frank won 8 Gold Gloves while with Kansas City. Dave Oliver at third base, a good infield instructor, and no less than Jim Rice as their hitting coach with 382 career Major League homers. Was certainly an all-star in Boston.
Tapped foul. Al Nipper is their pitching coach.
There's Jim Rice.
He could hit it a little bit. A South Carolinian. 1-2 the count. Two balls, 2 strikes. Runner at second, one out. Cordero out in front. Hold it foul. Don't forget, next weekend against the Cardinals, Georgia Power Magnetic schedule days. The tickets call 404-249-6400 or 1-800-326-4000.
That'll be a weekend-long celebration for me.
You get one every day. Right field base hit. Run probably won't score. He had to wait to make sure the ball was not caught. And Avery's in some trouble, and he's got a tough customer coming to the plate. Move on. Cordero always hit well against us with Montreal, and the change of uniforms hasn't changed that.
I think some of his problems in the last couple of years had to do with him trying to fill in gaps vacated by people like Larry Walker or Marquise Grissom, where he was trying to do too much offensively, trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He is best when he's hitting the ball to all fields, as he demonstrated there to right field.
Vaughn stands in. They're on the corners. If you get a ground ball out of him, you maybe can get two, but if you make a mistake, he can hurt you. 0-1. Vaughn out of Norwalk, Connecticut, now lives in Easton, Maine. Struck out 150 times last year, but drove in 126 runs. 0-2. He doesn't like that at all. Jose Canseco waits to hit next.
He's also very active in the community. Won the Bart Giamatti Award from the baseball assistance team last year for outstanding community service, and very popular in the Boston area.
Avery fearful that Cordero will swipe a base. That's the tying run at first. Game time 1:10 on Monday. That pitch was called a strike just a second ago.
Yes, it was. And Steve remembers. Let's take a look at the target. Inside.
See you.
Boy. Just raising his hands up a little bit may have influenced the call there from Paul North.
I wouldn't call him out on strikes either. Same spot. That one might have been a little too far in. 2-2 the count.
I like what Steve's doing, though. He's going right back in there, hoping that he does get the call, and he's working on that corner. Would they try it again?
We're about to find out. Traced the breaking ball, didn't get it. 5 strikeouts for Avery. Now he's got to get Canseco to wriggle out of this mess.
Good breaking ball. Set up with all those fastballs inside, and that one was in a great place, too, right at the ankles. Vaughn couldn't connect on the low pitch. That was a good sequence from Steve.
Hey, how about this? Kenny Rogers, making close to $20 million over 4 years, will not be in the Yankees starting rotation.
Oh, no.
Got an earned run average of 8.5 in spring training. Whoops.
Didn't influence Joe Torre much, huh?
No. So I guess he'll start the year in long relief and try to get the magic back. He doesn't get cheated, does he? 1-1 the count.
Well, could that mean then that Doc Gooden is in the rotation?
Let's see, they got it here. David Cohn, Andy Pettit, Jimmy Key, Dwight Gooden, Melito Perez. Yankees also put Pat Kelly, their second baseman, on the 15-day list. Tendonitis in his right elbow. Two balls and a strike. Other baseball news, good news today. Brett Boone's injury, they had an MRI of his elbow the other day, is not serious, and so the fine red second baseman may miss a day or two, but he's not going to have a long convalescence from serious surgery. 2-2.
I think Jose's got it in his mind that he'd like to leave a lasting impression
Yes.
in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium.
Maybe the upper deck.
Yes. He has left impressions a lot of places.
Jason Schmidt begins to throw in the Atlanta bullpen. Maybe next year we'll play these guys for real. Here. Pop foul back toward the press box.
And you're talking about the interleague schedule? Will that be a home and home with each team, or will you alternate that as well?
I can't remember how they... 2-2 pitch. Next year, I'm told that you just play one series, so it's either home or road.
Okay. So you might go to Boston and New York, but you would play Baltimore and Toronto, let's say, in Atlanta.
Selfishly, I'd like to go to Boston and Baltimore just to see those ballparks. 3-2 pitch. Got him. Inning over. Nice job of pitching by Avery. First and third. He strikes out Vaughn and Canseco to get out of it. 2 hits, no runs. No errors, 2 left to go to the bottom half of the third inning. Braves on top, 2-0.
A little cool and breezy for the last spring training game of 1996. A reminder that this telecast is authorized under broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club and is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures, descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
Rafael Orianna will face Marquise Grissom. As we go to the bottom of the third, Marquise flying to right his first time. Beltray up and throwing, got him by a step, 1 down. 1 pitch, 1 out in the third. Don't forget Monday when the Braves play the Giants, Spirit Tomahawk Day. Presented by Powerade and Easy Serve. First 45,000 fans to enter the gates will receive a foam Spirit Tomahawk. 404-249-6400 or 1-800-326-4000. Jeff Bowser, the batter, popped to first his first time.
Orianna in his minor league career skipped 24-12 overall.
Not too shabby. You can see why they like him. 0-1 the count. Pete Van Weer and Don Sutton join you after 4.5.
And you can also tell, too, by just watching him pitch today, he's not a guy that's going to blow anybody away with his velocity. He's got pretty good control, yet he led the Eastern League in strikeouts last year with 160 in 186 innings pitched.
And I hate to date myself, but sort of reminds you of a great Red Sox pitcher back in the 40s and 50s, Mel Parnell. A lanky left-hander who pitched so well with that green monster lurking in left field. 1-2 the count. Rafael Beltray begins to loosen up for Atlanta, too. Blauser whacks it into center for a solid hit. 1 on, 1 out.
Just stayed back nicely on that pitch.
David Justice, the batter. I think everybody is ready for this game to end, and let's get it going. A regular spring training, a regular season. Hopefully, an agreement between the Players Union and management. Uh-oh. 4-6-3 and out. That takes care of Atlanta in the third. Still 2-0 Braves. We'll be back. A couple of changes for Atlanta as we go to the fourth inning. Rafael Beltray is now at shortstop. He'll bat ninth. And Jason Schmidt takes the place of Steve Avery. He will hit in the number 2 spot in the order. We go to the fourth. And here with the play-by-play story, Joe Simpson.
Thanks, Skip. Jason, of course, going to be penciled in as the 5th starter in the Braves rotation. He will be skipped over because of the off day first time around, but should work that last game against the Cardinals next weekend, a week from tomorrow. And he faces Mike Stanley and almost hit him in the head. Right up under his chin. And Stanley going to be checked out by the Red Sox trainer. That might have been more a scare than anything else, but that was close.
Boy, it was. No, he's not throwing at him. Wow.
That was awfully close.
Stanley's had a tough day.
Jason Schmidt this spring, 1-2, a 3.54 ERA. This is his 7th appearance, 20 innings, 17 hits allowed, 8 earned runs. Right up under the chin and then back with a strike. He has walked 6, but in 20 innings has struck out 22. That one almost got a fan over in the owner's box. A ball and 2 strikes to Stanley. He drew a walk his first time up. Got him. Good fastball. Strikeout number 23 for Jason on the spring, and that's the 7th strikeout recorded by Braves pitching. Steve Avery, 6 strikeouts in 3 innings of work.
Fastball on the corner. I think Stanley's just glad to be out of there now. Nothing to prove.
Well, last day of spring training, can you imagine getting ready for the start of the season to have something like that happen to you? Greenwell takes a look at one outside. He took a called 3rd strike from Avery back in the 2nd inning.
This kid's got a chance to be a heck of a pitcher.
So overpowering. I think it really surprises hitters how his pitch fastball explodes. He doesn't have to get a big wind-up to let it go. And he's 6'5", and he's got a lot of leverage. Greenwell slices one the other way. Jerome Walton had him played that way and makes a nice catch. On the warning track. Nice play, Jerome Walton. And Skip told you, this guy can play some outfield.
He got a good jump on this ball, too. Fastball hit where it was pitched. Greenwell hit it pretty well, but Walton made it look easy, a la Marquise Bishop.
Tim Naring, the hitter. He lined out to Lemke his first time up.
A lot of fans don't know, I guess. We ought to tell them about where some of the old Braves have surfaced. Mike Stanton, a good spring here with Boston, as we said. Mike Devereaux playing at Baltimore now, where he'll be probably a part-time player. Bologna released. Charlie O'Brien, a 2-year deal with Toronto.
Do a good job for the Blue Jays.
And Kent Merkel, of course, with Baltimore.
And Alejandro Pena back with the Marlins.
Boy, he's got more lives than the cat, doesn't he?
I'm sure Luis Poloni, even though he was released by the Mariners, will find a job somewhere. Hit hard again by Naring, but there is Walton. At least he got in front of it. He'll hold him to a single. He may have lost that ball in the light. And he's pointing up at the lights as he talks to Marquise Grissom. Did a good job just to keep it from getting by him.
He's still a good outfielder, although he did have trouble with this ball. He's got no idea where it is. Now he spots it. And he's lucky he didn't get hit in the coconut.
The thing I like about Walton today is how well he's moving. No trouble today with that hip muscle. Esteban Beltray struck out his first time up. That's foul. For opening day, or the opening week of the season, you're still making your plans to come and need some tickets. That phone number for you. That's a little bit outside. .404 locally in Atlanta. 404-249-6400. Or outside the metro area, 1-800-326-4000. And for season and group ticket information, 404-577-9100. The ball and 2 strikes to Beltray. Breaking ball, nice stop by Lopez.
That deal O'Brien signed with Toronto, he's going to have enough to pay somebody to do all that fence repair down in Oklahoma.
That's right.
He got a good contract. That's great. He's a good fellow.
Deserved it. He earned it. Fastball got him. One running away from him, and Beltray couldn't catch up to it. Schmidt gives up a base hit, but strikes out 2. And we go to the bottom half of the 4th inning. Still 2-0 Atlanta.
The road to the NBA playoffs continues this week on Turner Sports on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Magic Johnson and the Lakers take on the Charlotte Hornets. NBA on TNT. Then on Wednesday, the Magic travel to New York to face the Knicks. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern right here on TBS.
One change for the Red Sox as we go to the bottom half of the 4th inning. Troy O'Leary takes over for Jose Canseco out in right field. O'Leary had a good year for Boston last year. Hit .308, 10 homers, 49 RBIs. That's the only change. And for the Braves, who lead it 2-0, Fred McGriff, Javi Lopez, and Jerome Walton in their half of the 4th inning. Fred McGriff continued his hot hitting. If you just joined us, he homered leading off the 2nd. Straightaway center field. A little low, 1-0. Rafael Orianna on the mound for the Red Sox. And he's pitched quite well. Allowing 2 runs on 3 hits. Good breaking ball. 1-1. Breaking ball hit deep to right center field, but back goes Jose, and he's there shy of the track to make the catch. Fred right on another one. Couldn't quite get that one up enough, though, and there's 1 out.
Jeff Supan is in the bullpen for Boston, right-hander.
So this might be Oriano's last inning. As Javi Lopez stands in, he grounded out to third his first time up. A little slow roller. Another chopper toward third. This time Naring backs up. Guns it over there in time. 2 down. After McGriff homered and Lopez grounded out, Jerome Walton drew a walk in the 2nd inning. And with 2 outs, he was running on a base hit by Mike Mordecai. Scored all the way from first base.
Who do you like in the NCAAs tonight, Joseph?
Got to go with a hot hand in Mississippi State. And that other one, I'm going to pick Kentucky.
When do the ladies
But I don't
play?
know if that's overwhelming.
That Sunday?
Championship is Sunday, yes. Some good games last night. Good off-speed pitch again, 0-2 to Walton. The women's championship tomorrow, the men's championship Monday.
Who's Georgia play?
Georgia women will play the University of Tennessee for the championship tomorrow. They have already played a couple of times this year. And it will be a battle. Two excellent programs.
You folks in Tennessee, don't get upset, but we got to root for our friends up the road.
1-2 pitch hit hard. Naring's got it. Throws him out. And an easy 1-2-3 inning for Orianna. Braves go in order. We go to the fifth. It's 2-0 Atlanta. Two to nothing Braves. We go to the top half of the fifth here in Atlanta. Final day of the spring training season. A couple of changes for the Braves. Eddie Perez will take over behind the plate. Tyler Houston is at first base, taking over for Fred McGriff. And a pinch hitter for Orianna.
Kid named Sadler, who's not on their roster. We'll check it.
Sends a chopper toward short. Belliard, who is the shortstop, fires to first in time.
Donnie Sadler, an infielder, was the pinch hitter.
An extra man brought along on the trip. Back to the top of the order, and Dwayne Hosey. He is flied out and doubled. Jason Schmidt looks very sharp. He struck out 2 in his first inning of work back in the 4th. A good fastball, but that one's low. Last year at Richmond, Schmidt with 95 strikeouts in 116 innings. Came to Atlanta, close to a strikeout per inning, 19 strikeouts in 25 innings. That one got away from him. It's 2-1. And Greg Mcmichael begins to warm up behind him. Hosey sends a flare to left, but Walton had him played perfectly. 2 down. Here's Greg Mcmichael.
No, we don't have much time, but I wanted to ask you, it must be tough to spend 7 weeks in spring training and then open on the road for a week. Huh?
Or longer sometimes.
Yeah.
You want to kind of freshen up. You know, at the end of the spring, you want to get your mind straight when one thing comes to an end to begin the next part of it. And sometimes it's, I think, an advantage to come home and sleep in your own bed and get ready to start the season that way than it is to just continue right on another road trip. 1-0 to Cordero. Good breaking ball, 1-1.
I'm already fired up about that 17-dayer. You'll see some funny-looking clothing combinations on me about the 10th, 11th day.
I'll probably see them more than once.
You got that right, too.
1-1 on the fifth. 1-2 now. How many suitcases can we take on that trip?
I don't know. I don't know where we're supposed to park. I mean, there are a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because we can't use the tunnel because of the Olympics.
Good fastball right in on his hands. Another good inning for Jason Schmidt. Red Sox go 1-2-3. Pete and Don come your way for the bottom half of the fifth inning, and it'll take you the rest of the way. Right now, the score: Atlanta 2, Boston 0.
Two to nothing Braves, and things are looking good. And Pete, I already see a lot of things I like here today. It's the last exhibition game. That's always good. Boy, did Avery look sharp, and McGriff is ready.
And Jason Schmidt also has pitched very well. It's been a very good spring for the Braves. They're going to be starting out the season with a lot of confidence.
Some defensive changes for the Sox. There's Reggie Jefferson. He will be at first base. And over at third base, Well, we'll catch you up to whoever they are in a minute. See, folks, what we do is we switch in the middle of the 5th inning. So an exhibition game, they make all these changes, so we catch up about as quick as you do. So we'll fill in the blanks for you. I do know that Mark Lemke is leading it off and takes ball 1 upstairs. So as soon as I get my office in order here, we'll figure out who's playing where. The 1-0 pitch to Lemke. There's a strike, and it's 1-1. There's a look at Supan's numbers. The report on him is he has a good, lively fastball and a pretty good overhand breaking ball. You got a chance to look at it right there. Out of Oklahoma City. That makes his home in West Hills. 2-3 last year with Pawtucket. 1-2 with the Bo Sox, and 6-2 in Trenton. His fastball is outside, and it's 3-1 to Lemke. So we have Jefferson at first.
Beltray has moved to second, and Sadler has stayed in the game at short.
And Beltray is over at second. All right, you're caught up. And Lemke draws a free ticket. Good start for the Braves. A little insurance certainly wouldn't hurt anybody. Here comes Mike Mordecai. Mordecai single, picked himself up an RBI because it was a hit-and-run play. Some good base running by Jerome Walton and some good coaching at third by Jimmy Williams. Tony Graffinino is going to come on and pinch run for Mark Lemke. That will put a lid on Mark Lemke's spring training. Got a good one. I think he's ready, too.
Hit. Don't ever try to throw a first pitch fastball strike past Mike Mordecai.
And I don't care who you are and what your number reads on a radar gun.
He's looking, fastball first pitch. He gets one right over the heart of the plate, and boom, base hit left field.
It's a cliche that has been used a million times, but let's make it 1,000,001. Trying to sneak a fastball past Mordecai is like trying to sneak daylight past a rooster. He does not miss it. So the Braves threatening. Runners at first and second. Belliard, the hitter. Remember when Avery came out and Schmidt came on, they flip-flopped him in the batting order. So the pitcher spot now number 2. Belliard probably going to be bunting. Pickoff attempt. You see a lot more of these feet in spring training than you do during the season. What every ball club wants to do is get in the scouting reports. They have the wheel play. They have some pickoff plays. And so the clubs will be leery of them. And the Red Sox showcasing their pickoff attempt. Good bunt. Good bunt, good gamble, good play. And the Red Sox get the leading man. Belliard looked like he had dumped that in the right spot, but that's some good hustle by Jeff Supan.
Good hustle by Supan and a good call by Stanley here. As soon as the ball was bunted and looked like Supan would get to it, you saw third baseman Tim Nehring break back toward the bag at third. So Stanley hollers third base, and they got the play on.
Catcher's a quarterback on that play all the way.
Yep.
So they're still at first and second, but now there is one out. We'll go to the top of the batting order, and Marquise Grissom. Like Smith on deck, so it's the end of the day for Jason Schmidt. Downstairs, 1-0. I'm going to put you on the spot a little, Pete. I heard the conversation. You, like everybody else, gets feelings about people in spring trainings. You've got one about this guy, don't you?
Yeah, I think he's really ready to have a big year. He is healthy. I don't think people realized how much that heel injury was bothering him all season long last year. Newly signed to a long-term contract. He's playing where he wants to be. And I think he wants to show the fans of Atlanta that he can put together one of those 300 batting average, 50 stolen base seasons that he was experiencing with the Montreal Expos. I think he'll do it.
The 2-0 pitch, a little bit low, make it 3-0.
He also has set a goal for this season, which you always like to see from an established player. His goal, have a 200-hit season. He wants to dedicate 100 hits to each one of his 2 children.
If he does that, he will score 100
Yes, he
runs
will.
for this ball club. See if he gets the green light. 3-0. Nobody does it more than Bobby Cox. He does, and he fouls it back. Make it 3-1. Get used to that, folks, if you follow the Braves. That man right there, not that one, but Bobby Cox, relayed through that man right there, gives his hitters the green light. More 3-0 than any manager I've seen. I think the Braves play a little hit and run here. Mordecai at second, Belliard at first. We've seen Bobby Cox do that with 2 runners on. Deep to right field. Back to the wall goes O'Leary and makes a catch. That's a nice play by the youngster.
It is, because he got turned around on that ball. He wasn't quite sure how far it was going to carry. And we've seen a little bit of unfamiliarity with this ballpark. Not quite sure where the warning track is, not quite sure where the wall is. But once he got turned in the right direction, O'Leary stayed with it and makes a nice play.
Take a look at him. Doesn't he remind you a little of Milt Thompson?
Yes, he does.
I watched him take batting practice, a little bit of the Milt Thompson swing. That's a good defensive play. Jose Canseco, I don't think would have made that one. Well, he wouldn't have had to, as tall as he is, he wouldn't have had to run as far. So after getting the first 2 on, the Braves now record 2 outs. And Dwight Schmidt will try to move him around. Smith for Schmidt. 2-0 Braves. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Final exhibition game of the season. Change up outside, and it's 1-0. The Red Sox have seen Dwight Smith. Remember, he spent some time in the American League. He fence him as a pull hitter. Upstairs, 2-0. Activity in both bullpens. Down the left field line, it's Maddox. But that's Mike Maddox, not Greg. Down the right field line, there's a look at Mike. And there's Greg Mcmichael, who will come on for the Braves. Al Nipper making his way out to the mound. There's nothing wrong with Supan. Normally, you don't come out right in the middle of a 2-ball, no-strike count like this. Somebody was doing a Mike and Greg interview before the ball game. And just watching them and watching their time together, if you have a family like that where you have 2 players who play the same position, if you don't have a special relationship, that could cause some problems. But they seem like
very close
and really enjoy each other. Meeting over. 2 balls, no strikes. Change up, hammered into right field. Over to get it is O'Leary. Mordecai heading for the plate. He'll score easily. Dwight Smith does it again off the bench, an RBI single. It's a 3-0 Braves lead.
And although in spring training a guy like Dwight Smith is going to be playing a lot of innings defensively to get him his at-bats, he's also been used more often than any other Braves player as a pinch hitter. And he is responding in that role that he's going to have for much of the season. As a pinch hitter, he's now 4 for 8. And the Braves now lead 3-0.
That'll bring up David Justice. David has hit the ball on the button twice, but right at the second baseman Cordero. Once for a ground out, once for a double play. 14 out of 50 for the spring. On the corner, 0-1. You had your feeling about Marquise Grissom. I have a feeling about David Justice. He seems very relaxed, very comfortable. I watched him take batting practice, watched him play. I think it's going to be a big year for him. An excuse me swing, a chance for Naring, and that'll do it. Correction, that's a chance for Sadler, but it still will do it. Braves threaten and get one, leave a couple stranded. 5 in the books, it's 3-0 Braves.
3-0 Atlanta as we go to the top half of the 6th inning. A look at today's Budweiser game summary. And if you look at the work done by Steve Avery and Jason Schmidt over the first 5 innings, if you're Kevin Kennedy, a manager of a team that may have some pitching problems this year, you got to be shaking your head saying, man, that's the number 4 and 5 starters in that rotation. 8 strikeouts by the twosome over 5 innings.
As we go to the 6th inning, pitcher number 3 of the day will be Greg Mcmichael. Schmidt 2 innings, a hit, nothing doing till you get to the strikeout column. He picked up 2 more of those. For Mcmichael, his 9th appearance, no one-loss record, a 2 earned run average. 9 innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks. The league hitting just a hair over 200 against him. His first pitch to Reggie Jefferson, a strike, and it's 0-1. We'll run down the defense for you because there have been a lot of changes. Make it 1-1. In left field, it is still Jerome Walton. In center field, it is now Damon Hollins. And Jermaine Dye is in right field. We'll catch you up with the infield after this pitch. Fouled away, make it 1-2. Ed Giovanola at third. Rafael Beltray is at shortstop. Rappanino at second, and Tyler Houston now at first. Eddie Perez behind the plate. And there the defense is complete, and the veterans making their way home to get ready for tomorrow's workout. They've earned it. A good spring for the Braves. Swing and a miss on the change. Good start for Mcmichael. That is 9 strikeouts by the Braves pitching. And to continue your thought, and Kevin Kennedy is saying, and that's their setup man.
Yeah, this is the setup man. Off-speed pitch just dies at the plate. Good arm movement. You can see the arm speed Mcmichael has on a pitch where he pulls the string like that. Now hitters can be way out in front.
1 gone for Troy O'Leary. He came out in place of Canseco in right field, made a nice defensive play, and takes strike 1. O'Leary out of Phoenix, Arizona. Up all year last year. Hit over 300 for the Red Sox. There's strike 2.
That's the history of the Red Sox. They always have good hitters. Go back to the Ted Williams era, then came Carl Yastrzemski, Jim Rice, Fred Lynn. Now this group.
Did he go? Yes, he did. 10 strikeouts for the Braves. Back-to-back Ks for Mcmichael.
Got him on the same pitch he got Jefferson on. In almost the same spot. Way out in front again.
Didn't mean to, but he still makes a U-turn. That'll bring up Stanley, who had a miserable at-bat against Jason Schmidt. I don't know if you were watching, but the first pitch was about cap-bill high. Put him on his wallet, and then got blown away by 3 fastballs. A little bit of a different look from Mcmichael into strike 1. That's outside 1-1. Now, the Red Sox have some good talent in their organization and some great names. They have an outfielder named Trot Nixon who can fly. They have a power hitter at Double-A named Pork Chop Pugh. High in the air to center field. Collins got a bead on it, backed up by Walton. Good inning for Mcmichael. 1, 2, 3 with a couple of strikeouts. We'll move to the bottom of the 6th inning. Still Braves 3. The Sox yet to score. Bottom of the 6th, a good day for the Braves. They lead at 3-0. You see the numbers there. Pitcher number 3 for the Red Sox will be Mike Maddox. Maddox last year with Pittsburgh and Boston. He did his best work with Pittsburgh, 4-1 in 36 ball games for them as a starter. He's working on his 8th year in the big leagues. There's what he's done in the spring. A couple of other defensive changes. Milt Kyler is now in right field. O'Leary moves to left field. Mike Stanley's day is over behind the plate. It's going to be Bill Hasselman, a youngster out of Newcastle, Washington, who's going to come on and catch. And Tyler Houston to lead it off for the Braves. Tyler Houston, one of the big stories of the spring for the Braves. Out of options. Minor league free agent that didn't attract a whole lot of interest last year. Back to Richmond. Maddox's first one is a strike, 0-1. Come to spring training, and basically a year where it's either you go to the big leagues or probably to another organization.
Yeah, he was out of options.
Make it 1-1. And he has put together some impressive numbers in the spring.
7 extra base hits, 5 doubles, 2 home runs.
Only 5 strikeouts and a couple of walks. That's a little bit low. Make it 2-1. He can play a little third. He can play some first, and he can catch. So Braves have now really 3 catchers, with that last guy being a multi-purpose guy. There's a ground ball to first. Jefferson has it. Tyler Houston's gone. 1 out.
This is going to be the key to the Red Sox this year. They're probably not going to get a lot of complete games out of their starters, so their bullpen is going to be very important to them. And Maddox will be a part of that bullpen. A former Brave, Mike Stanton, is a part of the Red Sox bullpen. He has not given up an earned run in 12 innings, and he's throwing in the bullpen for the Red Sox right now.
Got a 3 earned run average after going to Boston. Here's Eddie Perez, and he takes ball 1 outside. There's a look at Michael. Looks a bit trimmer to me. Doesn't he to you?
Yes, he does.
Great shape. 1 ball, no strikes. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Braves. Braves pitchers combining to hold the Sox to 4 hits. A couple of times pitching out of threatening jams, both times by Avery. Off speed and over. It's 1-1. Don't forget, it is for real on Monday. We kick it off at what, 12:35? Well, I think we're going to do some of the
12:35. We'll cover the ring ceremony and the raising of the championship flag.
2-1. Opening day, I don't know how you feel about it. You and I never really talked about it, but in my mind, it is the most fun, exciting day of the year. Toward third. Naring has it, and that'll do it.
Well, it's baseball's version of New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Tom Boswell wrote that book with the title Why Time Begins on Opening Day, and if you're a baseball player or a baseball fan or have anything to do with the sport, it's New Year's Day. It's a brand new year.
And all new uniforms. The infield and the outfield will never look better.
Everybody's undefeated.
Undefeated. New gloves. It's just, and there is as Jerome Walton stands in, there is an air and an excitement. The smells and the sounds and the sights of baseball, which have been put away all winter, are out and they're fresh. And I think it's more exciting than the first game of the series or the first game of the playoffs.
Well, everybody's going in expecting to have the best year of their lives.
Right.
Whether you're a manager, a coach, a player, this is going to be the year that you blossom.
And the fans who have had no baseball for 4 or 5 months have all that pent-up emotion, and they want their team. It's going to be the best year for their team ever. There's something special about opening day. 1-2 to Jerome Walton. Maddox looking for a 1-2-3 inning. And might get it. Hits the bag. Tough play. No, that's going to be a base hit. One of those tricky plays. Jefferson did everything he possibly could do to be in the right spot. So did Maddox, and Walton gets himself a gift base hit.
This looked like it went into foul territory, then came back into fair territory and hit the bag. And then bounced over Jefferson's head. No chance to get Walton at first. See, that ball's in foul territory initially. Then it kind of curls back, hits the bag, caroms over the head of Jefferson.
Jerome will tell you it looks like a rocket shot for a base hit. He stands at first for Tony Graffinino. Came on in place of Lemke. Eight out of 28 in this spring. 4 RBIs. Maddox and Hasselman wanting to get together on the signs. A couple other those names. Remember we were talking about. You don't think there's a little good-natured ribs? Go over the signs before the game. And don't you know, if Greg were having a conversation with Eddie Perez, the bars would be coming from there too. So we're all set. Walton at first. 6th hit of the day for the Braves. Off the mitt, but no harm done.
And you talk about opening day, what it means to various players. If you're Tony Graffinino, you're looking forward to opening day, whether it's here or in Richmond, simply because you've got your health back. He only played 50 games last year. He had a bad back, and it bothered him all year long. And he was coming off a 300 year 2 years ago at Greenville, so if he does wind up going back to Richmond, he'll want to get back in that groove that he was unable to get in last year.
1 ball, no strikes. There's a strike. It's 1-1. We're talking about the Red Sox organization and some of those names. We have a young man, a left-hander named Sean Sr., who came out as a junior and as a prospect. He's out of North Carolina State. Trot Nixon we told you about, but a name familiar to a lot of Braves fans, especially in the Georgia area and the Atlanta area. There's a strike. It's 1-2. Nomar Garciaparra. He almost made this ball club.
Yes, he did. He had a very good spring for them. 393, 2 homers.
Last year, 267 at Trenton. Doesn't strike out much. Great range. And I think the key line in his scouting report, Pete, when I was reading it, was they said he's one of those players, the more you see him, the more you like him. Well, that's a good endorsement. The 1-2 pitch to Graffinino. Got him. So Maddox shows some good stuff. Gives up a base hit, but leaves Jerome Walton standing. That'll complete 6 innings. News for the Braves fans. It's 3-0 Atlanta. Three to nothing as we go to the top of the 7th inning. Good news for the Braves. What do you do 48 hours before opening day? You sit and relax. And Pete, I know you and Joe are opening over here. Skip and I are opening on radio on Monday, but I had a chance to have a nice visit with him that I think we're going to be able to show the folks on Monday, and he's a cool customer. He's a good guy.
A very unique individual and a very unique approach to the game of baseball, and you'll hear some of that on our pregame show Monday. Right now, Joe Barowski, key outing for him. This is his 11th appearance at spring training. He's battling Mike Bielecki for that final spot on the pitching staff, and Bielecki had 2 strong innings in last night's game. 1 ball, 1 strike the count on Milt Tyler, the former Tiger. Now wearing a Red Sox uniform. Down and in, the count 2-1. Up, he went around, says first base up Mark Barron. So it's 1-2. Tyler hitting .289 this spring as a homer. Here's the 1-2. Downstairs 2-2. Barowski in 12 innings this spring has given up 11 hits. Walked 5, struck out 7. He's given up 3 homers. Full count now, 3-2 on Tyler.
He has a lost art pitch, Pete. Overhand downer curveball. When it's good, it's very good. When it stays upstairs, it leaves the yard in a hurry. In the air to shallow left center field. Belliard going back, called off now by Jerome Walton, who makes the catch. 1 down. And now Tim Mayring, who was lined out to second and single. But even if Barowski is sent out, don't lose sight of him. He's a guy that had 67 strikeouts last year at 3 levels for Baltimore organization in about 60 innings. He has good stuff.
One of the 2 pitchers that came over from the Orioles in the Kent Merker trade. The other one, Rashad Stewart, is a guy you'll be hearing from in the future, too. Out of play, and the count on Mayring goes to 1 ball, 1 strike.
Not as simple a mechanics as you'll find. Just turn and go, overhand fastball, backspin, 4 seams, lively upstairs. And what he pitches off of that with is he shows you the fastball up and then drops the curveball. Works straight down.
He's out of Rutgers University. Count goes to 2-1 now on Mayring. He was originally drafted by the Chicago White Sox and was traded in a minor league deal to the Orioles in 1991 for Pete Rose Jr. Line to left field. Walton had him play perfectly. Has to back up a couple of steps, but he's got it for out number 2.
With his type stuff, Pete, he is one of those guys that I really don't think you try to make him work up and down. You don't say pitch down, pitch down, pitch down. I think what you do with a Joe Barowski is you say you work in and out. Throw your fastball inside, outside, and then use the breaking ball as a pitch you just throw for a strike. Because you see, he gets a lot of fastballs up. If they're out over the plate, they travel, but he can jam guys and pitch away with it.
9 straight retired now by Braves pitchers. And here's Esteban Beltray, who has struck out a couple of times. Takes the first one from Barowski down low, ball 1. More activity in the Atlanta bullpen. Rod Nichols is now throwing out there. Here's the 1-0, and it's a little tap to the right side. That'll be fielded by Tyler Houston. Flips to Barowski covering, and a 1-2 inning for the rookie right-hander. We go to the bottom half of inning 7, still 3-0 Atlanta.
My friends at Kodak, this is Barowski's mechanics. Watch how he stays over the back leg, tall, tilts back. Good power delivery, always under control. That tilt back and then come over the top is the kind of delivery that you can teach the downer curveball to, and it's the one that'll give you a good backspin fastball, but not exactly the kind of delivery that you would teach a guy to sinker, and quite a contrast to this man.
And you see the numbers he has put together. The former Brave Mike Stanton has not given up an earned run in 12 innings. And he'll be facing Ed Giovanola to lead off here in the bottom half of the 7th inning.
A little moisture from the heavens.
Yes, the rain that's been expected all day has finally arrived here. You see the numbers on Giovanola. And Mike Stanton ready to go to work. Here in the bottom half of the 7th, Braves up 3-0. This is low, ball 1.
I swear he looks 20 pounds lighter. Much better shape.
Missing inside, 2-0 the count on Giovanola. Rafael Beltray will hit next. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Missing inside again. Stanton, a part of the Braves from 1989 through the end of July last year, when he was traded to the Red Sox for some young prospects. Outfielder Mark Lewis and pitcher Mike Jacobs coming over. Matt Murray also went to the Red Sox. That's in for a strike. And the count 3-1. The rain beginning to fall a little harder now. And down to first with a walk goes Giovanola to lead off the bottom of the 7th. And that'll bring up Rafael Beltray.
Matt Murray, if he had any kind of spring at all, probably had a shot at making this ball club maybe as a starter for him, but he really struggled this spring. An earned run average up over a dozen, so maybe it may have been a missed opportunity for Matt.
We got some interesting news a few minutes ago over the wire from the New York Yankees camp. A very interesting decision made by Joe Torre about their pitching rotation. If you've been following the Yankees at all, you know that Jimmy Key is trying to come back from an injury this year and has pitched well this spring. Dwight Gooden in the Yankees camp has pitched well this spring. Well, both have made their starting rotation, according to an announcement made today by Joe Torre. And dropped out of the starting rotation is a guy they spent a lot of money for. As you see, Beltray hit a pop foul down the right side. Tyler coming over into foul ground to make the catch. Kenny Rogers has signed a 4-year, $20 million free agent contract with the Yankees that has an ERA of over 8 this spring, has been dropped out of the starting rotation, will open the season for the Yankees in the bullpen.
Well, he got hit with a line drive this spring. I wonder if part of that might be that he's not back 100%. But that's a pretty bold move by Joe Torre, but it's not the first bold move we've ever seen Joe make.
Here's Damon Hollins, who along with Jermaine Dye, who's on deck, have had outstanding springs. These two youngsters are kids you'll be hearing from in the future. Two homers, 6 RBIs for Hollins this spring to go along with that .361 average. Hit .247 with 18 home runs at Greenville last year. Outside with the fastball, ball one.
Looks like Jamie Moyer warming up in the Red Sox bullpen. We were told yesterday he was going to start, but a change made this morning. Found out about when we got here.
At the knees for a called strike, 1 ball, 1 strike. And unlike Cleveland last night, who told us when they came in that they had left all their starting pitchers back in Florida to make sure they got their innings in, the Red Sox are still looking at people. They're not at all sure what their pitching is going to be like this year. And the kid that started the day, Rafael Orianna, although he had been sent back to AAA 3 weeks ago, has been pitching so impressively with Pawtucket in spring training. They wanted to give him one last look against a major league club to see how he could do.
I thought he did a good job. Only
fine.
the one pitch to McGriff. Fastball he wanted to get in on him, but he got up and away.
1 ball, 1 strike on Hollins.
Been a tough spring for Kevin Kennedy.
Breaking ball caught the corner, 1-2.
I was down talking to Kevin Kennedy prior to the game, and he was talking about how tough his schedule has been. Then I ran the Indians' schedule past him, and he said, "I'm sorry I brought it up."
Hey, I wonder what the weather's like in Cleveland today. They were supposed to play an exhibition game at Jacobs Field this afternoon. It's about 60 degrees at that here.
It's balmy, just like here.
Yeah. A ball and 2 strikes on Hollins. That misses low, 2-2.
Now, the Indians have a game tomorrow in Columbus, is that right?
In Columbus, Ohio.
Kevin Kennedy was telling me they fly out of here right afterwards. They go to Arlington, they have a workout tomorrow, and then they kick it off in Texas on Monday.
Stanton's 2-2 pitch on the way, bounces up there. Good stop by Hasselman. The count full now, 3-2. Here's the 3-2 with the runner going. Bounced out towards second. Fielded by Beltray on the first in time. No chance to get the runner who was moving on the 3-2 pitch. 2 men gone now with the runner at second for Jermaine Dye. Who has gotten a lot of playing time this spring for Atlanta. He's hitting .372, 2 homers and 12 RBIs. He is second on the team in RBIs, only to Fred McGriff.
I think I'd take this final stat sheet and have it plaqued if I were Jermaine Dye.
One of the luxuries, really, that Bobby Cox has had this spring, when you've got pretty much a set ball club, as he has had going into spring training, you have the luxury of being able to take a good long look at some of the youngsters you're expecting things from down the road. Because you know what your regular guys can do. Just get them enough at bats, get them ready for the season.
And I think if you were to subject Bobby Cox to the Chinese water torture test, he would tell you, and you know, you've been around him longer and a lot more than I have, I think he would tell you his heart is really with young players.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely loves young players.
A ball and no strikes on Jermaine Dye. Down the left field line, well hit, but hooking, foul up into the seats. And it's 1-1 now on Dye, who hit .285 at Greenville last year, 15 homers and 71 RBIs.
He would have had himself a double or a long single in Fenway Park, because that would have gotten off the wall before it got foul. That's kind of fun to do, and I've been doing it today, watching balls go out there and wondering what would have happened if it had been in Fenway Park. There would have been 2 more homers already.
A ball and a strike, the count. 2 men out, runner at second. We're in the last of the 7th, 3-0 Atlanta. And Mike Stanton's 1-1 pitch in the dirt, 2-1. Jermaine Dye out of California, Vacaville, California. In junior college, he was a pitcher. Played a little outfield, but mostly pitched. Here's the 2-1 on the way, and it's popped foul other way this time, up into the seats on the right side. It's 2-2 now. .6'4", 210 pounds, only 22 years old.
And glides when he runs.
The 2-2 on the way from Stanton, fouled back again by Dye. It remains 2-2. Aldo Pecorilli has a bat in the on-deck circle. And if Dye can keep the inning going, he'll get his shot against Stanton.
Offensive tackle, number 73.
Here's the 2-2 on the way, and it's pop foul again. The battle continues between Jermaine Dye and Mike Stanton.
There are a lot of guys who go to spring trading, Pete, and if you're down the list as a pitcher or another player, you're going to get the 60s and the 70s and maybe an 80. Some players keep those numbers as they go. Earl Hershiser drew 55. Remember, one of the all-time great pitchers in history, Don Drysdale, drew one of those numbers and liked it and kept it for years.
Now the 2-2 on the way, and it's hit high and deep to left center field. Back to the warning track, but the catch will be made out there for out number 3. And that's all for Atlanta in the bottom half of the 7th inning. We go to the 8th. Still 3-0 Braves.
Right here on TBS, 12:35 on Monday. We'll kick it off for you as the Giants come to town. Mr. Bonds will be swinging a hot bat. We'll have the ring ceremony, the raising of the pennant. It'll be Avery against Leiter. Maddox against Leiter. I knew that.
Rod Nichols, the new pitcher for Atlanta, as we go to the 8th inning, and his first pitch to Sadler is a called strike. Rod has struggled this spring. If you look at his numbers from last year, but this spring he's worked in 6 games rather, given up 7 runs in 7 innings. It's the first out here, though, in the 8th inning, and the beat goes on for the Braves bullpen. They have not given up a hit since back in the 4th.
That faux pas with the names, that's what happens when you start casting ballots for player of the game a little bit early.
1 away, and back to the top of the order now, and Dwayne Hosey, who's 1 for 3 in the afternoon. He doubled back in the 3rd. A lot of the fans heading for cover here as the rain continues. Off the screen, 0-1.
As a matter of fact, the Giants won't see Steve Avery at all.
No, they won't. Avery's first game will be against St. Louis on Friday. There are your pitching matchups for the Giants series. Avery will work Friday against the Cardinals. And Jason Schmidt, the odd man out the first time around the rotation because of the off days. First start won't come until the 3rd game of the Dodgers series in Los Angeles. $29,414 the paid attendance on this dreary afternoon. That bounces up there. 1-2.
Speaking of the Giants, I got home in last night in time to turn on the game. There's Terrell Wade. He'll come in. He's had a good spring, too.
Yes, he has.
Let's turn on the game and satellite and watch Alan Watson pitch. Boy, the Giants need him to have a good year.
Back to Nichols again. And quickly 2 are gone here in the top half of the 8th inning. Activity in the Boston Red Sox bullpen. Heathcliff Slocum, who had that outstanding first half of the year last year for the Phillies. At the knees for a called strike.
Other than a few walks, Slocum has continued just like he did last year the first half of the Phillies. He's had a good spring.
Hasselman takes it low, and the count 1-1.
Run average in the 1s, 11 outings.
Count goes to 2-1. Another key member of that Red Sox bullpen. When you look at a division like the American League East and all the offense that's in that division with the Red Sox, the Orioles, and the Yankees in particular, it's going to be the team that gets the best pitching is going to win that division. High in the air, right side of the infield is going to be another 1-2-3 inning, this time for Rod Nichols as Graffinino is under it and takes it. And the Red Sox go quietly in the 8th. We go to the bottom half, still 3-0 Atlanta. Must be a Red Sox fan, judging by the look on his face.
Either that or it's Jackie Vernon.
Here's Heathcliff Slocum now, who turned in his best major league season with the Phillies last year. 32 saves in 61 games, a 2.89 earned run average. You see the numbers he has compiled this spring. Problem with Slocum last year was almost all of his success came the first half of the season. After the All-Star break, he faded. He was the National League Pitcher of the Month during the month of May last year with 12 saves and a 1.76 earned run average.
He's had to pitch out of some jams this spring to keep that earned run average down, too, because he's walked 7 in 11 innings.
Aldo Pecorilli is going to pinch hit to lead off here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. A 143 average for the spring, including a grand slam home run, and he hits the first pitch into right field for a base hit. And a good start to the bottom half of the 8th inning. And now Tyler Houston. Houston grounded out to first, his only time up today. Slocum acquired in a trade with the Phillies. Ken Ryan, the key man, going from Boston over to Philadelphia. Fastball strike in the outside corner, 0-1. Three runs, 7 hits now for Atlanta. No runs, 4 hits for the Red Sox.
You saw Heathcliff Slocum do something there that you see a pitcher do every now and then. You have your mind made up, you're going to throw a certain pitch. You know that the catcher's going to call it, so you go ahead and come set, and he doesn't call it. Then you just have to back off and start all over again.
Now the 1-1 on the way. In for a called strike, 1-2. Terrell Wade continues to work in the Atlanta bullpen. He'll come on to pitch the 9th if we can play it. This rain is coming down harder by the minute. Up the middle and into center field. Base hit for Tyler Houston. Down to second goes Pecorilli. Runners are at first and second now with nobody out here in the bottom of the 8th. Probably his final at bat of spring training in Tyler Houston. 14 hits and 40 at bats. That's a .350 batting average.
And under the gun .350 batting average.
And emerging, as there is a story like that every spring, is the real surprise of the Braves spring training camp this year. Now Eddie Perez. He'll ground it out to third, his only time up. Nobody out, runners first and second. That ball lined to center field. Hosey drifting back, can't get it over his head all the way to the wall. That'll get Pecorilli around third. He'll score. Stopping at third, Tyler Houston, a run-scoring double for Eddie Perez to make it 4-0 Atlanta.
He's such a good defensive catcher that overlooked a lot of times is that Eddie Perez is a pretty good hitter. Just exactly what you're supposed to do with an up and away fastball. Drive it to right center field. Hosey got a little bit of a bad angle on it. Double for Perez, another run for the Braves.
And now Jerome Walton, who has walked, grounded out, and singled. Runners at second and third, still nobody out. One ball, no strikes. Because the season officially opens tomorrow night, the American League kicks it off with a game in Seattle, the Mariners and the White Sox. Opening day rosters have to be set by midnight tonight, so the Braves will go to work right after this game, getting down to 25 players. They made the move, in case you didn't hear earlier, on Chipper Jones today. He was placed on the disabled list, retroactive back to the date of the injury, which means he'll only miss probably the first 4 games of the season. He'll be eligible to come off the list next Saturday. So 6 more players will have to be cut from the roster.
And there's always a name or two that surprises you. We had talked last night about Brian Williams being the closer at Detroit. We had also talked about Joe Baber being the setup man. I was surprised to read today that Joe had been put on waivers for his release. John Scherholz spent most of this day on the phone.
2-0 the count now on Jerome Walton. Or I should say 3-0. There's ball 4, and down to first goes Walton with a walk, and the problems continue for Heathcliff Slocum here in the 8th inning. You know, a lot of times, Don, we paint baseball at this time of the year as being somewhat of a heartless game, and there are some very tough stories about players being released near the end of spring training when it's difficult to find a job, maybe. But there are a lot of cases, and I don't know if the general managers get enough credit for this, or managers too, where a player who just doesn't fit into your club's particular plans, but you'd like to see him land on his feet somewhere. And you'll see general managers calling other clubs and managers calling other ball clubs saying, look, I've got a player here that we're not going to be able to keep that I think might be able to help you. He's had a good spring.
Fit for you.
Yeah. A lot of that goes on this time of year.
Unfortunately, as much as, you know, it's a sport and it's fun and we treat it as a game, it is a business.
Yes.
And you have to run this business like you would any other business. You're not going to run if you've got a fleet of taxis, you're not going to run one out there that isn't serviceable. And that's the same way. You've got to get down to 25 that work best for you. I have heard general managers and managers say it's the one day of the year they dislike the most of the season, of the baseball year.
Oh, nobody enjoys calling a player in to tell him that he has not made the ball club. Bases loaded, nobody out for Tony Graffanino. Ball 1 outside. 23, 24, 25. He's got the roster set.
Now he's doing his Powerball ticket.
2-0 the count.
He hits, he's going to say, to heck with you, 25.
He's got it
See,
now.
I've got 2, 4.
See?
Yeah.
2-0 the count now on, or I should say 1-1 on Tony Graffanino.
Too late to fill out your NCAA pool, John.
Bases loaded, one more run in here in the bottom of the 8th. And here's the 1-1 on the way, and it's lined down the right field line. Tyler coming over into foul territory, but he does not have a play. It's in the seats. Nice catch made by a fan down there. Ball and 2 strikes. Braves leading at 4-0 and threatening to break it wide open here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Nobody out, bases full with Walton at first, Perez at second, Houston over at third, and a 1-2 pitch due to Graffanino. Deep to left center field, going back for this one, O'Leary. This ball is gone. Grand slam home run for Tony Graffanino. Makes it 8-0.
That'll be a real shot in the arm for Tony Graffanino. You'd like to smile really big right there, but you want to keep your cool. He got one up and out over the plate. Right down on it, kept the head still. Hit that ball hard to get it through this dense air, and that's one of those now right now where if you're Kevin Kennedy, you'd love to run up the white flag.
Ed Giovanola steps in now. Still nobody out. 5 runs have scored here in the bottom half of the 8th inning.
This is not what you like to see out of your closer. The last outing before opening day.
Now that last outing, you'd like to see a sharp performance. There's the smile. Misses outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Pecorelli, Houston, Perez, and Graffanino. Youth must be served this inning.
Now the 1-2 on the way to Giovanola. Misses low, and the count even. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Braves have a workout scheduled here at the stadium tomorrow, weather permitting. And then the Giants will be in to get the season going on Monday. And again, we remind you, we will carry the ring ceremony prior to the game. We'll be on the air at 12:35 Eastern Time. One away, and Rafael Beltray will step in. Al Nipper, the pitching coach, coming out.
Second trip, pitching change.
Nate Minchi coming in from the Red Sox bullpen after a rough outing by Heathcliff Slocum.
We'll give you another look at our pictures from the experimental camera by Kodak. Interesting hitting style by Graffinino. Picks the foot up, sets it right back down, doesn't stride. Watch how the weight stays back, then he hits against the front leg. Good upper body turn, good extension. Out of here, grand slam. I like that picture. There's a look at the camera. I had never noticed that about him, that it's a no stride hitting style. Pick it up and set it back down. Means you can wait on. You shouldn't get fooled on off-speed pitches with that way of hitting. You can be patient and wait back on that back leg.
So the Braves are broken and wide open here, 8-0, and the sixth pitcher of the afternoon for the Red Sox is right-hander Nate Minchi, his first appearance with the Major League club this spring. He was formerly in the Braves organization. The Braves originally got him from the Montreal Expos back in 1989 in the Zane Smith trade, and then dealt him to the Red Sox organization in '92 when they acquired Jeff Reardon. And his first pitch on the way to Rafael Beltray misses low. He's out of Austin, Texas. Pitched in the Cardinal organization last year, was 8-7 at Louisville. Beltray just out, and the ground ball is short for out number 2. And we'll go back to the top of the order now, Damon Hollins.
Terrell Wade had cranked it up and was ready, but the inning has gone so long, he's going to come back out, heat up again.
1 ball, no strikes. At the knees to even the count. Minchi, a big guy, he's 6'7". Pitched briefly with the Red Sox in '93, where he was 1-2, and in '94 he was 2-3 with Boston, but a high earned run average of over 8 that last time up with the Red Sox.
Was he in Pawtucket when we went there in '94?
Yes, he was.
That's it.
Yeah, he won 11 games for Pawtucket that year. A ball and 2 strikes now, and Hollins with 2 outs and 5 runs in here in the bottom of the 8th. Breaking ball fouled off, still 1-2. Can't beat fun at the ballpark.
Hard to tell if they were ice fishing or watching the game.
Here's the 1-2 on the way. Bouncing ball slowly toward first. Jefferson Fields flips to Minchi covering, and that takes care of the bottom half of the 8th inning, but a very productive one for Atlanta. The highlight, a grand slam home run by Tony Graffinino. We go to the 9th, 8-0 Braves.
Paul Nord out to the mound to give Terrell Wade the ball. Pete, I think the conversation probably went like something like this. Well, Terrell, how's the family? Or do you think so?
Read lips. Throw strikes. It's cool, it's raining, and it's 8-0, and it's the 9th inning of an exhibition game.
About time we got a good umbrella out here. That's one I haven't seen before. It has basically been a bad umbrella day here. Well, the generic stripers. Now there's something that's kind of lovely. As the Robert S. McGarry look.
The new pitcher for Atlanta, Terrell Wade, as we go to the 9th inning. Terrell has made the ball club as one of the left-handers out of the bullpen. He's been effective in 8 games. ERA is 0.87.
Good idea, wrong company, guys.
Reggie Jefferson will lead it off here for the Red Sox in the ninth. The bullpen has been extremely effective today. Following Steve Avery's 3 scoreless innings, Jason Schmidt worked 2 scoreless. Greg Mcmichael a 1-2-3 inning. Joe Barowski a 1-2-3 inning. Rod Nichols a 1-2-3 inning. And now Terrell Wade goes to work. One hop to the shortstop, picked by Belliard. On the first, 1 pitch, 1 out.
Terrell Wade is following the instructions.
Had an interesting conversation with Leo Mazzoni in spring training camp down in West Palm Beach about Terrell Wade. He said that he felt when Terrell had some of those bad outings early in the spring that he was thinking too much about some of the things that Leo was telling him about how important it is to throw a first pitch strike, that he was overthrowing on a lot of the first pitches, falling behind in the count. So after about 2 or 3 outings where Wade was not pitching as effectively as the Braves would have liked, Leo said he went to him and said, just forget everything I told you. Go back and do what you were doing before. And then the first pitch strikes like that last one began to come. Troy O'Leary, a strikeout victim, his only other time up. Up high, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Some people throw hard and some people throw hard and the ball is lively. Terrell Wade has a live arm. Little flip right at the end and his fastball jumps.
Off the end of the bat, count goes to 1-2. How tough an adjustment is it for a guy who's been a starting pitcher most of his career to work out of the bullpen?
Believe me, you'll have to have spring training to do it in.
In the left field, not too deep. Walton wasn't playing very deep.
Pete, it's tough
2 outs.
because as a starter, you're so used to having a structure. You got 4 days to prepare to work the 5th day. As a reliever, you may have 30 seconds. You may have 8 days. You may have 2 weeks. You don't know. There is no time frame. There is no set thing you can or so set schedule you can bank on. I personally think it's one of the toughest jobs in sports is to sit down there and then jumpstart your engine and get out hitters.
2 outs in the 9th inning. And Phil Clark, the batter. See the numbers that the veteran Phil Clark has put together this spring for the Red Sox. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs in the 9th. The last man to reach base for the Red Sox all the way back in the 4th inning when Tim Nehring singled. Since then, 15 straight, maybe 16 in a row retired. Belliard's throw on the first, and the Braves wind up spring training on a very positive note, getting outstanding pitching and good offense today. Final score, the Braves 8, the Boston Red Sox nothing.
Our AutoZone player of the game finishing spring training 3-0 with an earned run average down in the 1s. It is Steve Avery. There's a look at his numbers. So Steve is ready to start the season. He's our AutoZone player of the game. Braves win at 8-0, and we'll be right back.
Baseball brought to you by Beechwood Aged Budweiser, official sponsor of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team. For a clean, crisp taste you won't find in any other beer, this Bud's for you. And by Delta Airlines, the official airline of the 1996 Olympic Games.
Braves finish their exhibition season just the way you want to. They knock off Baltimore, Cleveland, and today the Red Sox in succession. You see the totals: 8 runs, 10 hits, errorless ball, 5 stranded for the Braves. The Red Sox, no runs, 4 hits, errorless ball. They stranded 5, 4 of those coming in the first 3 innings. Excellent outing for Steve Avery. 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. Rafael Orianna, with the exception of 1 pitch, pitched himself a very good ball game. McGriff, his 7th homer. Graffinino, a grand slam. He'll remember that for a long time. Strikeout day for the Braves, and the reason those 4 were retired early and no more later, you see what the pitchers did to finish it. 2 hours and 23 minutes, right at 29,000, and a great way to end the spring, Pete.
Braves finished spring training with a record of 16-10 and now are ready to defend their world championship. And that all begins on Monday, and we will be there for opening day, beginning with the ring ceremony at 12:35 Eastern Time. Then the Braves take on the Giants in the season opener, Greg Maddox against Mark Leiter. Andy Griffith coming up next here on TBS, followed by the Surf Ninjas at 4:05, starring Rob Schneider. Stay tuned for that. We will see you on Monday, opening day, here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Until then, for Don Sutton, Skip Carey, Joe Simpson, our entire TBS crew, final once again, the Braves 8, the Boston Red Sox nothing. So long, everyone.